this month, one humanitarian rescue ship became the symbol of Europe's migrant crisis. That rescue ship, the Aquarius, operated by the NGO SOS Méditerranée, stranded at sea for 10 days while EU member states squabbled over who would take in the 630 migrants on board. Well, our reporter Annalise Borges was the only broadcast journalist with them, and she's been working on an exclusive documentary about their odyssey. She joins us now live from Brussels. Annalise, what was it like working on that boat and producing your documentary at the same time?
Well, it was a very challenging experience, Belle, but it obviously doesn't compare to what the 630 people who were rescued at sea had to go through. Those were people who were traumatized, who had gone through a lot, who risked their lives to reach Europe, and who spent several days stranded without knowing what was happening to them. And that's what we're working to tell. We're working on putting together the real story of Aquarius and its days stranded at sea, the real story that happened while the European leaders struggled to come up with a solution, struggled to come up with a port of safety so that those people could disembark. We are going to talk about the political rows that ensued, but we're going to focus on the people, the story of the men, women and children who risked their lives to reach Europe, and the story of the volunteers, the men and women who risk their lives to save others. At around 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, just over 12 hours since we left Catania, we get our first distress call. We're just a few minutes away from the rescue. The boat is going to be loaded on the water, and we are expecting to find some 100 or 120 people on board this boat that is in distress.
Hello, everybody! You okay? Hi, my name is Max, okay?
At this stage, it all seems very orderly. The first few people are loaded onto the lifeboat. We head back to the Aquarius with our first group of refugees. We head back again. Now the light is fading. And the atmosphere is changing. The refugees are becoming worried. Max knows it's important to reassure them.
You're gonna be okay, okay? Okay. Guys, please stay very calm, okay? Even if the water is here, you're okay.
The volunteers have to work quickly. As Max hands out more life jackets, several people suddenly make a grab for our boat. There's a risk that we could be overturned in the commotion. The refugees are now starting to panic. Max can see that the side of the raft is giving way. Several people have fallen in.
More life jackets, let's go.
In the pitch black, it's impossible to see how many people are in the water.
Closer, closer. Moving in.
Once again, there is a risk our lifeboat could be overturned. We're forced to back away from desperate, drowning people. The rescuers are doing their best to keep control of the situation. Over the next 3 hours, our lifeboats shuttle repeatedly between the two rafts and the Aquarius. 219 people are rescued. It's only later that we find out 2 refugees have drowned. There are entire families, 7 pregnant women, young children, and over 120 unaccompanied minors. After 7 grueling days on board, land is finally in sight. this is it, the sight that they have longed for days. They are this close to reaching Europe, this close to starting this new promised life.
Yeah, a little bit nervous actually. It's like we thought all hope were lost, but you guys received us and our hope was a gain.
The joy and relief of stepping on dry land soon give way to emotional goodbyes.
You write me with my mail, okay?
Yes.
I miss you.
I miss you. Thank you very much.
Take care of you, huh?
Yeah, I will.
You will be a doctor. You said it, huh?
Yes, I will.
And you will treat me.
I will.
You will do it, huh?
I will.
I'm not kidding.
I will. Don't cry.
Okay, it's okay.
Don't cry.
I'm not crying. It's Joyce, okay? It's happiness.
Bonds of friendship have formed between the volunteers and the migrants. Reward is the last one off the boat. From this moment, he and his traveling companions are asylum seekers. They're setting off on a new journey.
Well, some extraordinarily powerful images there. Annelies, what's happened since then? Have you stayed in touch with any of those migrants? Do you know what's become of them since they docked 10 days ago in Valencia?
Well, some of them have reached out, Belle, including Reward, the 20-year-old Nigerian man who you just heard from there. He tells me he is doing fine. Of course, communication right now is very limited. He sent me a few text messages telling me that he was doing okay and asking about me, asking for news. The vast majority of those people are going to be requesting asylum in Spain. They have been granted a 45-day permit from Spain, during which they need to request asylum, and after that, of course, their requests will be processed. This is a process that is going to take some time. It can take up to 6 months for that whole process to go through. And now these people are starting to get a better idea of just how complicated and convoluted that process really is. But of course, they tell me that they are hopeful and that they are really counting that things will fall into place, Belle.
Well, Annelies, thank you very, very much for that. And Annelies' full documentary, 10 Days at Sea, the real story of the Aquarius, will be on air on Euronews starting on Monday, July the 16th.